Eduardo Briceno.
Thanks. Hi, Paul.
Hello, hello. So, you've been here before.
I have. This place is near and dear my heart.
So, last time was 8 years ago, right?
Yes, 2016. Who was here in 2016? Do you know? A bunch of people? All right, nice.
More than that, right? Yeah, yeah. So, what have you been up to over the last 8 years?
Time flies. And I was here for in 2016, and then the first TEDx talk I did was in 2012. Did anybody know that you were here in 2012? All right.
These are all
Well,
youngsters.
So the last 8 years, I've been work-wise. The main thing I've been doing is public speaking, which is largely because of TEDxManhattanBeach. I never thought I would become a public speaker. I grew up extremely introverted, being very, very uncomfortable speaking one-on-one with anybody. And I did my first TEDx talk because Kate was reading Drive by Dan Pink, and she looked at a footnote that was referring to research by my mentor, Carol Dweck, and she reached out to Carol to do a TEDx talk here. She couldn't do it, so we decided I would do it. And I did it to promote this thing I was passionate about, growth mindset and learning. And it turned out, I practiced very, very much for it, and I thought I could do 10 minutes on stage, even if it was very uncomfortable. And that led to other organizations and school districts asking me to speak. And surprising to me, I enjoyed it. I became good at it. And now that's what I do full time. So that's what the main thing work-wise that I've been doing for the last 8 years. Thank you. And the other thing that I did, which was also way out of my comfort zone, is I wrote a book. And that, I didn't grow up as a reader, much less a writer. So that was way out of my comfort zone. And it's based on this talk that we just watched. It's called The Performance Paradox. That came out last year.
Wow, okay. See, older people can do things too. So the growth mindset, the research on that, tell us how that has advanced in the most recent years.
Well, when I did the talk on growth mindset, which was 2012, my mentor, Carol Dweck, had been doing research since the late 70s, early 80s, and then with a bunch of collaborators, a lot of researchers. But the main thing that has happened since is that a lot of people have become aware and excited about growth mindset, including researchers. So there's been a lot of research, like thousands of researchers doing growth mindset research on lots of different contexts. And if you do a growth mindset search on Google Scholar, you'll find it in any context. And it's really continued to show the power of this belief. A growth mindset is the belief that we can change, that we can develop our abilities and our qualities, and that comes with lots of benefits. Some of the ones that are more interesting, more recently, that have been kind of deepened, is first around kind of our unconscious biases. When we see people as able to change and develop over time, we're less affected by our unconscious biases. Another area is around how teachers, parents, and leaders can affect the mindset and the behaviors of the children or of working professionals through what we say and what we do. And another one is around cultures of learning or growth mindset cultures and how that affects all of us, because we develop our beliefs from the people around us. And so we need to be mindful about creating communities of learning like this community that is here.
It's a great community.
It is a great community.
What's maybe one thing that people either misunderstand about growth mindset, or they miss about it, or they understanding this one thing might help them understand the whole thing?
Well, one is still, when I speak, still usually about 50% of people have heard of growth mindset. So most people still haven't heard of it. And even those who have heard of it or have done a lot of work on it, often we have a misunderstanding about what it is. We might think that it is positive thinking or is being resilient or working hard. And a growth mindset is a belief that we can change. And it's important to develop that belief along with the behaviors. So that's one. And the other is sometimes we see growth mindset as a silver bullet. It has so many benefits that we say, if we just foster a growth mindset, then we'll solve all our problems. But growth mindset is really the beginning of learning. It makes it possible for us to figure out and ask questions and think about what can I experiment with? What questions can I ask? How can I listen better? So that then we can grow gradually over time.
I love that. I love that. The growing, first your beliefs, that you kind of like fulfill those beliefs or you follow them. So what's next? What's the next thing you want to do?
Well, I'm going to continue doing this work that I am so passionate about of helping organizations build growth mindset cultures, which again I wouldn't be doing without TEDxManhattanBeach. So thank you to you, to Kate, to all the volunteers, to everybody here, because I wouldn't be doing this work without you. And the other thing that I'm working on is in pushing myself is in after. So I often do keynotes for internal corporate events. I want to get better at supporting them after the events to help them instill the habits and behaviors and make them really sustainable and sticky over time. So I'm developing other offerings to help organizations do that.
And you wrote a book. Tell us about the book. What's the title?
I did. So it's called The Performance Paradox. The Performance Paradox is the counterintuitive reality that if we're constantly performing and that's all we do, then our performance suffers. That's the talk that we just watched. And so the book allowed me to go a lot deeper into that and deepen my thinking, create new frameworks, and do a lot more research, like interview over 100 people and get lots of stories into the book. And it's published by Penguin Random House, which is unfathomable to me. It won a bunch of awards, and I'm so proud of how people are reacting to it. And so the first part is about the ideas and what any individual can do, and that people say could be a book of its own. But then the second part is about what leaders can do and what organizations can do. And then the third part is about what we can do when we're performing and how we can actually optimize our impact and what we can do to actually perform.
All right, so last question. What's one thing these people can do immediately, start doing to help kind of get into this growth mindset?
Well, I think anything that, so first, I think the theme of this today is change makers, and we're hearing from so many amazing change makers today. And I think they all exemplify a growth mindset and learning because that's necessary in order to make progress and affect change, whether it's in our lives or in the world, right? And so sometimes we can see these amazing people and what they're doing and almost feel like they're so different from us that, change making is not for me. And so I think one thing that we can, and they're fostering a growth mindset and they're making change. But one thing that we can do is focus on progress rather than perfection, right? And change make in the ways that we can and where we're ready to do. So a bunch of them have encouraged us to think about our purchasing power, right? And the consumer choices that we make. That's something that we can all do. And just thinking about how can I continue to improve in how I live to enrich my life and to make a difference. And one thing that's very simple that we all can do is to make a morning habit of reminding ourselves of what is one thing that I'm working to improve, right? And if we remind ourselves of what that is every morning, that primes a growth mindset, it primes the learning zone, and it starts affecting how we live and how we behave the rest of the day.
Well, let's hear it for Eduardo.